Hi everyone, my name is Alex Miller. Today I'm going to be talking to you about the financial assistance program at Providence, Milwaukee. The reason I chose Providence, Milwaukee is because that is my current place of employment. I actually get to work side by side with our financial assistance counselor, and she was very helpful in giving me information about this program. Also in the department that I work at, there is some co-mingling with access services as well as the financial assistance department, where we do need to have some of that information. So my background with the financial assistance is more than just what I learned from our financial assistance counselor. All right, let's get started. So I work at Providence, Milwaukee. We're a pretty small hospital compared to most. We're just a neighborhood hospital. We have only 20 beds in our emergency department, and so obviously that doesn't leave very much for many patients. We don't have a big psychiatric bed capacity in our emergency department, and we also don't have much to care for pediatrics either and trauma. So it's very limited to the amounts of resources that we do have. If anything does get brought into our emergency department, it does often get transported to bigger hospitals like Providence, Portland, or St. Vincent's. And then in our inpatient, which is our med-surg unit, we have another 36 beds is what I counted. And then we do have an intensive care unit, or ICU, which has a whopping total of 6 beds. We also do have a senior psych unit, which isn't just for senior citizens. We do have some people that are in their 50s, but that's about as young as we get to carrying psychiatric patients. And those are more long-term patients, but that's about another 15 to 20 beds. Yet again, we're not very big on our resources. So we're very limited to the amount of care we can provide, but it is also nice because we can provide that care, that's not too hectic, and we can still provide good care to patients there. So we do offer this list of exams or procedures here. So mammograms, obviously, bone density scans. So that does show kind of the amount of thickness in your bones, or density, obviously. Just kind of showing proofs of osteoporosis or any bone deteriorating diseases. We offer lab procedures, so any blood test, urine tests that kind of need that quick in and out check. We offer MRIs, CT scans, X-rays, EKGs, or electrocardiograms, which is just a picture of the heart. And then we do colonoscopies and endoscopies. Colonoscopies is just to see rectal cancer and anything rectal related. Endoscopies is anything through the mouth, esophagus area. And then we do like smaller surgical procedures. We do some plastic surgery, knee replacements, gallbladder removal, carpal tunnel, eye surgeries, and hernia surgeries, but nothing more major than that, like a cardiac issue or anything cancer related. Nothing that would be more of a emergency issue if something were to happen to a patient. So to move forward, most providences, if not all providences, use Epic, which is a computer system just for charting. I don't know who in our class is familiar with Epic and who is not. A lot of hospitals, I worked for Legacy, and they also use Epic. It's a pretty versatile program that a lot more medical offices and organizations are starting to transfer over to this. It just allows for any, from one organization to the next, to allow to transfer information for the patient. You can't really share any of their medical history, but it does allow to show like kind of the basics of their demographics of where they live, their phone numbers, their social security numbers. It's a lot easier to transfer information, but if a patient is coming from a Legacy to a Providence, the information won't travel to one hospital than the next. It does become a little bit harder at that point. But from one Providence to the next Providence, all the information does travel. Or if it's a clinical or, a primary care office, all that information does travel to the hospital. So like at Milwaukee, we do have a primary care physician's office down the hill, and anyone who may have visited that office, all that information does come up to the main hospital up the driveway, and we do get to see all that information, and it does make it very nice to have that readily available. And so that's how Providence uses their data or, gets that patient information. And that's how we utilize informatics, really. That's our main resource with being such a small hospital, is that Epic itself is what we utilize and collect data and collect information and go from there. So with that, with Epic, that is how we actually screen patients for financial assistance. On the next slide, I will show you guys the flag that we use. But with this, we, as Access Services employees, we can input patient information with insurance. And then if they don't have insurance, we can click a button and it's called self-pay. And what that does is that automatically puts this patient in a work queue, which is something that a lot of the clerical, non-clinical staff goes and they work on more in depth. And this is where our financial counselor can go to kind of look at the patients who do need that assistance and who do need to be screened for the financial assistance. So as you can see here, this little box that says self-pay, that's the box that you would click on in order to say, hey, this patient doesn't have insurance and they need to be screened. I know it's a little box that doesn't say all that, but it does, all that information does get transferred to our financial counselor, like I said. And then the add and remove, that's where you would go or click on to add for patients who do have pre-existing insurances. But like I said, you would click on that self-pay button and it would put a little check mark in there, and then it would then transfer on to give patients more help for their insurance screening. And then you would go on to create this billing flag. So you would click on that icon in there. And sorry, I can't do that. I actually took screenshots of an Epic playground, and what that is just kind of where employees can go and mess around with fake accounts. And this billing flag, what it does is you can then flag the financial assistance counselor and say, financial assistance needed, or patient needs to be reviewed, or anything like that. And that again gives that financial counselor that ability to go in and see all that information. So with the legalities and the ethical issues, obviously there's federal, state, and local laws that have to be abided by. And then the hospitals must follow these policies. Without these policies, obviously there's, rules that would be broken. But the policy with Providence is to provide free and discounted hospital services to qualified and low-income patients. And so this quote here that I took, it's the intent of the policy to comply with all federal, state, and local laws. The policy and financial assistance program herein constitute the official financial assistance policy and emergency medical care policy, which is also called EMTALA, for a hospital owned, leased, or operated by Providence. So Obviously, Providence has to oblige by any federal, state, or local laws, but it must be, you have to give patients the opportunity to be able to um, get the insurance that's needed or the medical benefits that's needed as equal to everybody else. And so if not, people do break, or not people, but emergency rooms do have the opportunity to break the EMTALA law. And that's basically just giving patients the right to apply for medical insurance. And so we do go through a further screening, Access Services does, and you see if the patient, they have to be making within a certain amount of money to qualify. And I think if you're single, it's under or $1,200 or something. Sorry, I don't work in the emergency room primarily, but it's about $1,200 by yourself. If you make under that, around or under that with no dependents, you do qualify. But there are further extensive things that can qualify the patients for Medicaid and stuff. But yeah, so with that, this just gives that data and legality and all the informatics comes together, and it just gives one big, kind of pot for each patient that then can go and get the help or get the medical assistance that is needed. And so Epic works with that with the employees, and you're able to go back and kind of look at that information.